I opened my dad's old laptop looking for photos, but I found hidden files that completely changed how I see my family. It wasn't an important moment. I wasn't even trying to find anything strange. I was just bored. My mom had gone out shopping, my sister was at a friend's house, and the house had that heavy silence, the kind that makes any old object seem more interesting than it should be. That's when I remembered my dad's laptop. We hadn't used it in years. It was stored in the closet of his old study, a room no one really touched much since he stopped being present. It's not that he had died exactly, but he wasn't really there either. Let's just say he was an absence with a body. He still lived with us, but he wasn't the same. Quiet. Distant. Like his mind was somewhere else. And that room, it stayed frozen in time. I opened the closet. It smelled like dust, old wood, and something else, like dampness. There it was. The laptop. Black, thick, one of those old ones that look more like a box than a device. I took it out, brushed off the dust, and brought it to my room. I didn't expect it to work, but it did. After a few seconds of strange hard drive noise, the screen lit up, and there it was. The login screen, with my dad's username, and a password. I tried the usual. His birthday, wrong. His anniversary with my mom, wrong. My sister's name, wrong. I was about to give up, when I tried something I don't even know why it came to mind. My name, and it worked. I don't know how to explain it, but that already felt off. Because my dad was never that kind of sentimental person. He would never have used my name as a password. Never. The desktop was clean. Too clean. There were only 3 visible folders: work, photos, documents, nothing unusual. I went into photos first. There were thousands. Family trips, birthdays, normal moments. But something was off. Years were missing, like someone had cut out entire chunks of time. There was nothing between 2012 and 2016. Nothing. And that made no sense. Because those were important years. I exited. Went into documents. Boring files. PDFs, bills, work stuff. But that's when I saw it. A file that didn't match anything. Named 0001, no extension. No clear icon. Just there. I tried to open it. Nothing happened. But when I right-clicked, I saw something strange. No creation date. No modification date. It was like it didn't really exist. That's when I noticed something else. On the bottom bar, there was a small icon. Like a gray square. No name. It wasn't open, but it wasn't closed either. It was, like it had always been there. I clicked it. The screen flickered. And for a second, I saw something I shouldn't have seen. A folder. Full. With dozens, no, hundreds of files. And then it disappeared. I thought it was a bug. But it wasn't. Because now I knew something was hidden. I searched online how to view hidden files. Enabled the option. Went back to the desktop. Nothing. Everything the same. But then I did something different. I clicked that gray icon again. This time, I held it. The screen froze for a few seconds. And then, it appeared. A new folder. As if it had always been there. Name, log. My skin crawled. I don't know why, but there was something about that name I really didn't like. I opened it. And that's when everything started to go wrong. Inside were folders organized by dates. Years. Months. Days. Like a perfect archive of something. I opened one at random. 2014, June. Day 17. There was a single file. A video. I opened it. And I froze. It was my house. But not from inside. From outside. Like someone was recording from the street. Pointing directly at the living room window. You could see my family. My mom. My sister. And me. Younger. Sitting, watching TV. The video was 3 minutes long. And the camera never moved. It just watched. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that, at the end of the video, the camera zoomed in, right at me. And just before it ended, I turned, and looked straight at the camera, like I knew it was there. I slammed the laptop shut. My heart was beating way too fast. That couldn't be real. Someone had recorded us. But, who? And why was that file on my dad's laptop? I sat there in silence for a few minutes, thinking, trying to find a logical explanation, but something didn't add up. Because if someone had been recording us, then my dad didn't just know. He saved it, and organized it, like it mattered. I looked at the laptop again, and I knew, that was just the first file. I didn't open the laptop again right away. I left it closed for a few minutes, like it might explode. I know it sounds exaggerated, but there are moments when something just feels wrong. Not immediate danger, something deeper, slower, like you're looking at something you're not supposed to see. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, and I was already in. I opened it again. The screen lit up directly inside the log folder, like it had been waiting. I took a deep breath, and opened another file. This time I picked a more recent one. Year, 2018. Month, October. Day, 3. Another video. I hit play. And this time, it wasn't from outside. It was inside the house. The camera was in the kitchen. Fixed. High up. Like it had been placed on top of the cabinets. My mom was there, preparing something. Normal. Everything normal. Until it wasn't. Because after a few seconds, I walked into the scene. But something was wrong. Very wrong. I didn't remember that moment. At all. I watched myself walk into the kitchen. But not the way I normally move. It was slower. More rigid. Like I was acting. My mom spoke to me. In the video, you can clearly see her say something like, "Do you want something to eat?" And I answered. But I couldn't hear what I said, because the audio was distorted, like someone had edited it. My mom froze. 1 second, 2, and then, she smiled. But it wasn't a normal smile. It was automatic, forced, like someone had given her a command. The video ended there. I stared at the black screen. I didn't remember that day, that conversation, any of it. And that scared me more than the first video, because the first one could have been a stranger, a stalker, someone watching. But this was inside. I opened another file. 2019, January, day 11, video. This time, my room. The camera was in a corner, pointing at my bed. I was sleeping. The video lasted 6 hours. I skipped ahead. Nothing, just me sleeping. I skipped further. 3:17 a.m. I sat up, but I didn't wake up. My eyes were open, but there was no expression, no reaction. I just sat on the bed, staring forward, for almost a minute. And then, I said something, but there was no audio, just my lips moving slowly, like I was talking to someone who wasn't there. After that, I lay back down, and the video continued like nothing happened. I closed the file. My head hurt. That couldn't be real. If I had done something like that, I would remember, right? I opened another, and another, and another. They all had something in common. Moments that seemed normal, but with small details that didn't fit. Empty stares, pauses that lasted too long, movements, unnatural. And always, the audio was missing at the important moments. Like someone didn't want me to hear something. That's when I noticed something worse. Not all the videos were of us. Some were of my dad, alone, sitting in front of the computer, the same laptop, recording himself, talking, but again, no audio. A knot formed in my stomach, because in those videos, my dad didn't look like I remembered. He looked scared, constantly glancing behind him, like someone was in the room with him. In one of the videos, he wrote something on a piece of paper, and held it up to the camera. I paused the video, zoomed in. It said, "It's not safe to talk." My blood ran cold, because that meant one thing. He knew he was being recorded, knew someone could see this, and even so, he kept recording. I kept watching, and at the end, my dad leaned closer to the camera, very close, and whispered something, but there was no audio. Still, for some reason, I felt like I understood what he was saying, like my mind filled it in on its own. If you're watching this, it's already too late. I shut the laptop again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was because something started to connect. The missing years, the videos, my dad's behavior, and something else, something I hadn't wanted to admit until that moment. I didn't remember much from those years either. Too many gaps, too many blanks, like someone had edited my life. I looked at my bedroom door, closed, total silence in the house. But for the first time, that silence didn't feel empty. It felt watched. And then I understood. If those videos existed, if someone had been recording for years, then there was one question that changed everything. Where were the cameras? And worse, were they still there? I didn't want to get up. I swear. There was a part of me saying, close the laptop, get into bed, pretend nothing happened. But it was already too late. Because once you know something is wrong, silence stops being comforting. It becomes suspicious. I stayed sitting there, staring at the door, waiting to hear something. A step, a creak, anything, nothing. I took a deep breath, and stood up. The house was the same as always. Too normal. That kind of normal that now feels fake. I went to the kitchen first, the same place from the video. I looked above the cabinets. Nothing, just dust. I climbed onto a chair, ran my hand across the top, and that's when I felt it. A small bump. You couldn't see it from below. It was stuck in the corner, right where the shadow hit it. I touched it. Plastic. My pulse started to race. I ripped it off. And when I brought it down, my stomach dropped. It was a camera. Small, black, with a faint red light on. It wasn't old. It wasn't covered in dust. Someone had put it there, and it was still working. I turned it off instinctively. I didn't think. I just did it. And in that moment, something changed. It wasn't a sound. It wasn't a light. It was a feeling. Like when you're somewhere and suddenly you know someone is watching you. I looked up. Nothing. But I didn't feel alone anymore. I grabbed the camera and took it to my room. Placed it next to the laptop. And that's when I noticed something worse. The laptop light was on, but I had closed it. I stepped closer slowly. The screen was black, but not off. Like something was running in the background. I opened it. The log folder was already open, but that's not what made me step back. There was a new file, with today's date. No time, no name, just, there, appeared. I hadn't created it. I hadn't downloaded it. And yet, it existed. My hand was shaking when I clicked it. The video opened. And what I saw was my room, exactly as it was in that moment. The laptop, the chair, the door, everything. But there was one detail. The camera wasn't where I was. It was in the upper corner of the room, pointing at me. Something inside me snapped. I slowly turned my head toward that corner, and there it was. Another camera. Smaller, better hidden, on. I looked back at the screen. The video was still running in real time. I was in it, staring at the camera, but with a few seconds of delay, like it wasn't exactly live, but close. Then it happened. In the video, I looked down, but I hadn't done that. I froze completely. On the screen, my version did something different. It raised its hand and pointed straight at the door. My blood ran cold, because I wasn't moving, but in the video, I was. Very slowly, the version of me on the screen turned its head and looked at the door, and then smiled. But I wasn't smiling. I couldn't. I didn't know how, because at that moment I heard something behind me. A faint click, like a door opening, very slowly. I didn't want to turn around. My body wouldn't respond, but the video did. On the screen, I turned and looked directly at whatever was coming in, and for the first time, the audio worked. A voice, low, familiar, too familiar. I knew you'd eventually find it. My breath caught, because I recognized that voice. It was my dad's, but there was a problem. He wasn't home, or was he? The video froze, the screen went black, and then text appeared. Don't open the door. I stayed completely still, because the doorknob started to move, very slowly, like someone on the other side was testing if it was unlocked. And then I understood something worse than everything before. My dad didn't just know about the cameras. He didn't just record everything. He was still playing, and I had just entered the game. The doorknob kept moving, slow, precise, like the person on the other side wasn't in a hurry, because they knew I was there. My first instinct was to lock the door. I rushed toward it and turned the lock with a sharp click. The sound echoed louder than it should have, like the whole house had heard it. Silence. The doorknob stopped. I pressed myself against the door, barely breathing, waiting. Then, knock. A soft tap. Then another. Knock, knock. It wasn't aggressive. Not desperate. It was patient, like someone who knows you'll open eventually. I looked at the laptop. The screen had changed. It wasn't black anymore. Now there was text. If it responds, don't believe it. A chill ran down my spine, because right then the voice came back. Open. My dad. No doubt. But something was wrong. It wasn't how he normally spoke. It was too flat. No emotion. Like a recording, or an imitation. I know you're in there. I clenched my jaw. Didn't answer. You saw the files, didn't you? My heart started pounding harder. Then you know it's not safe for you to stay locked in there. I looked at the laptop again. The text changed. He's lying. My mind was racing. Two conflicting things. Two versions. The voice outside. The warning on the screen. Listen to me, the voice said. That thing you're seeing, that's not me. The screen flickered. Neither is he. I froze. He? If you open that door, the voice continued, you won't be able to tell the difference anymore. A heavy silence fell. And then, the laptop changed again. This time, a video opened automatically, without me touching anything. It was my dad again. One of the old recordings. But this one, I hadn't seen. He looked worse. Thinner. Staring straight into the camera. And this time, there was audio. If you're watching this, he said, voice shaking, it means it reached that part. The air felt like it vanished. Listen carefully, he continued. Don't trust what you see. Outside, something brushed against the door, like a hand sliding over it. My dad in the video kept talking. Don't trust what you hear. The voice behind the door whispered, he's manipulating everything. My head felt like it was about to split. Don't trust me. The video stopped. Total silence. And then, the screen showed something new. A list. 3 options. 1. Open the door. 2. Turn off the laptop. 3. Find the main camera. I stared at it. This wasn't just recordings anymore. It was interactive. Like someone, or something, was guiding me, or testing me. The voice outside returned. Closer. Open the door. And for the first time, I heard something else. Breathing. But not just one. There were 2. I slowly stepped back from the door, looking at the laptop. 3 options. But something didn't add up. Because if there were cameras, if everything was being recorded, then there had to be a place where it was all controlled. The main camera. I swallowed. Because that meant one thing. There was a central point. And if I found it, maybe I'd understand everything. Or maybe, I'd see something that shouldn't exist. The voice slammed against the door suddenly. Louder this time. Don't do that. Too late. Because I had already decided. I wasn't going to open it. I wasn't going to turn anything off. I was going to find the root of everything. The main camera. And as I took my first step toward the bedroom door, the laptop showed one last line. If you go downstairs, don't look at the mirrors. My blood ran cold. Because in my house, there were a lot of them. I opened my bedroom door. Slowly. Like the air on the other side might be different. No one was there. The hallway was empty. Dark. Silent. I looked both ways. Nothing. But something didn't fit. The feeling. It was like someone had been there just a second ago, and simply wasn't anymore. I looked down. The wooden floor. Normal. But when I took my first step out of the room, I heard something behind me. A soft click. I turned immediately. The laptop. It had closed on its own. A chill climbed up my spine. But I didn't go back. Because if I did, I knew I wouldn't come out again. I slowly closed the door and walked down the hallway. The first mirror was right at the end. Large, old, Dark wooden frame. It had always been there. It had never scared me, until now. I remembered the warning, don't look at the mirrors. So I did the logical thing. I lowered my gaze, walked looking at the floor, step by step, but then something moved. Not in the house. In the reflection. I caught it in the corner of my eye, and that was enough. I looked up without meaning to, and what I saw wasn't exactly me. It was almost me. Same face, same clothes, but something was off. The expression. I was tense, afraid, but my reflection was completely calm, too calm, and then it smiled. A second before I did, I jerked back. My breathing turned uneven. That wasn't a delay, not a trick of light. That was independent. I kept walking, faster now. There was another mirror on the side wall, smaller. I didn't look at it directly, but something in it caught my attention. Movement. I couldn't help it. I looked. This time, the reflection wasn't looking at me. It was looking behind me, back down the hallway I had just left. My heart climbed into my throat, because that meant one thing. There was something behind me, but I didn't turn. I couldn't. Because if the reflection saw it, I didn't want to be the one to confirm it. I kept moving. I reached the stairs. Dark. The light downstairs was off. And that's when I heard it. A whisper. Very low. But it wasn't coming from below. It was coming from the walls. Like the house itself was speaking. You're not the first. I froze. Nor the last. My breathing sped up. I stepped onto the first stair. It creaked. Too loud for the silence. And then, something answered. From below. A sharp thud. Like someone reacting to my presence. I swallowed. And kept going down. Step by step, the air felt heavier, colder. When I reached halfway down, I saw the living room. Dark, but not empty. There was something in the center. A figure. Standing. Still. I couldn't see its face, but it was looking at me. I knew it without seeing it, because it didn't move, didn't breathe. It just waited. My mind screamed at me to run, but my body wouldn't respond. And then the figure tilted its head, very slowly, like it was studying me. And at that moment, the TV turned on by itself. A white flash. Static noise. I looked instinctively, and what appeared on the screen broke me completely. It was the laptop. My room. The door. Closed. And someone sitting in front of it. Using it. My blood ran cold. Because that person was me. But I wasn't there. I was on the stairs. Watching it. Feeling everything fall apart. And then, the version of me on the screen lifted its head. And looked straight at the camera. With a smile. The same smile from the mirror. And said something. No sound. But this time, I didn't need to hear it. I understood perfectly. You came downstairs. The figure in the living room took a step forward, and for the first time, the TV light illuminated its face, and everything inside me stopped, because it wasn't a stranger. It wasn't something unknown. It was someone I knew, someone I had seen every day, someone who shouldn't be there. The figure took another step, slow, like every movement was calculated. The TV flickered again, white, black, white, and in that rhythm, I saw it clearer. My chest tightened, because it wasn't a stranger. It was my dad, but not the one I remembered. This one was different, thinner, paler, and his eyes didn't seem to focus on anything, like he was looking at something behind me, or through me. I froze on the stairs. Dad, I tried to say, but my voice came out broken. He didn't respond. He just tilted his head slightly, exactly like the mirror figure. The TV flickered again. I looked. Mistake, because the version of me on the screen was no longer sitting. It was standing, very close to the camera, too close. And this time, there was audio, a voice, my voice. Did you see it? Nausea hit me, because I wasn't the one saying it. He's not the original. I slowly turned my gaze back to my dad. He was still there, motionless, but now he smiled, and that smile didn't belong to him. It wasn't human, it wasn't natural, it was learned, like someone practicing emotions in front of a mirror. Which one of us do you think I am? He said. His voice sounded out of sync, like it was coming from two places at once, the TV, and him. I realized something in that instant. The audio wasn't coming from the TV. It was coming from the walls, from the whole house, like the house itself was speaking with his voice. I stepped back. The wood creaked, and that was enough. My dad moved. One step. Fast. Too fast. It took you longer than the others, he said. My mind went blank. The others? The TV showed something new. Folders. Many. With names. Names I didn't recognize. Dates. Years. And inside each folder, videos. People. In houses. In rooms. Discovering the same thing I did. The cameras. The files, the mirrors, and all of them ended the same way, looking straight at the camera, smiling. My breathing turned uneven. You're not the first, my dad said. I remembered the whisper in the walls, nor the last. Everything clicked at once. This wasn't just my house. It was a system, something repeating, a cycle. What are you? I managed to say. My dad stopped, and for the first time, he seemed to think, like he was choosing an answer. A copy, he finally said. The TV showed my room again, the laptop, the version of me. Smiling, but not the first. It felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. It's not about replacing, he continued. It's about perfecting. He took another step toward me. Observing. Another step. Learning. Another. Repeating. He was just a few feet away. And then I saw it. Something I hadn't noticed before. His skin. It didn't quite fit. Like it was a layer. Poorly adjusted. Your original father, he said. And stopped. For the first time, his expression glitched. Like an error in something trying to stay stable. Understood too much. The TV showed one last video. One I had never seen. My dad. The real one. Tied to a chair. Looking straight at the camera. Desperate. And this time, there was audio. If you're watching this, he said, barely able to speak, don't let it copy you. The video cut. The screen went black. And the silence became unbearable. The thing in front of me smiled again. It's too late for that, it said. And then it reached its hand toward me. Because you've already started learning. My mind began to connect everything. The videos. My strange movements. The nights. The gaps. My reflection. The version on the laptop. It wasn't just that I was being watched. It was that something had already been practicing being me. For years. And now, I was seeing what my dad saw. Following the same steps. Making the same choices. Becoming part of the same cycle. The hand was inches away. Only one thing left, it said. I swallowed. What? It smiled. And its eyes, for the first time, locked fully onto mine. For you to stop telling the difference. The TV turned on one last time. And what it showed was the ending of every file. A single scene repeating. A person. In front of the camera. Smiling. And saying one phrase. The same in all of them. It's me. The hand of that thing, of my dad, was still extended in front of me. Waiting. Not forcing. That was the worst part. Because in that moment I understood something crucial. They never force you. They lead you. Step by step. Decision by decision. Until you cross the line yourself. I looked at his hand. Then at the TV. Then, at my own hands. They were shaking. But not just from fear. There was something else. Recognition. Like a part of me already knew what was happening. And then, I remembered something. Not a normal memory. One I had never had before. My dad. Years ago. Sitting with me. Telling me something I didn't understand at the time. If you ever doubt yourself, don't try to prove that you're real. The memory sharpened. Prove that you can choose. I snapped back to the present. The thing in front of me smiled. You're starting to understand, it said. I shook my head. No, I replied. And for the first time, its smile tightened. I looked at the TV. All those endings. All those people saying it's me. It wasn't confirmation. It was surrender. They stopped questioning. Stopped resisting. And in that moment, the copy won. I took a deep breath. And instead of taking its hand, I stepped back. Silence. The thing's expression changed. Not to anger. To curiosity. That didn't happen before, it said. Perfect. That meant this wasn't fully scripted. I looked around. The walls. The cameras. The TV. All connected. All watching. All learning. You want to copy, I said. The thing tilted its head. No, it replied. I want to improve. I nodded slowly. Then you need data. Silence. You need patterns. More silence. You need me to act, so you can learn. The smile returned. Exactly. There it was. The crack. Then watch me carefully, I said. And before it could react, I turned and ran. But not toward the exit. I ran to the kitchen. Straight to the drawer. Opened it. The hammer. I grabbed it. Behind me, footsteps. Fast. But too late. I jumped onto the chair and struck the corner of the cabinet. The camera. It shattered. A sharp beat pierced the air. The house reacted. Literally. Lights flickered. The TV screened static. The walls vibrated. Don't do that, the voice said. But I understood now. It wasn't omnipotent. It was a distributed system. It depended on watching, on recording, on repeating. And if you took that away, it broke. I ran into the hallway. The first mirror. I smashed it. It shattered into pieces. The reflection didn't disappear. It distorted. Like something behind the glass was losing shape. I shouted. Not in fear. In force. Second mirror. More fragments. More distortion. The whispers turned into screams. You can't, you shouldn't, you already started. I didn't respond. I went downstairs again. The figure of my dad was there. But now, it flickered. Like a weak signal. If you destroy this, you destroy him too, it said. I stopped. For a second. Just one. Because that was the final trap. Guilt. I shook my head. No, I said. And raised the hammer. If he understood this, then he already made his choice. And I smashed the TV. The screen burst into black. Total silence. The figure in front of me froze. Its face twisted. Like multiple expressions were trying to exist at once. And then it spoke one last time. Interesting. And it disappeared. It didn't fall. It didn't break. It simply stopped being there. The house fell silent. But this time empty. Real. I dropped to my knees. I don't know how much time passed. Minutes. Hours. Until I heard something. A knock. Soft. From the basement. I frowned. I didn't remember having a basement. But there it was. The door. Half open. I went down. Slowly. The air was cold. Heavy. And there. I found him. A chair. A broken camera in front of it, and in the chair, my dad. The real one. Weak, but alive. He lifted his gaze, and when he saw me, he smiled. But this time, it was real. You made a different choice, he said, struggling. I swallowed. Is it over? I asked. He looked around, then slowly shook his head. Not completely. My heart tightened again. But you broke the cycle. Silence. That had never happened before. I helped him up. We went upstairs together. The house was just a house again. No cameras. No whispers. No strange reflections. Days later, we got rid of the laptop. Destroyed it completely. We never talked much about what happened. But something changed. In him. In me. In how we saw everything. Years passed. A normal life. Quiet. Until one day, my son asked me something. Something simple. Dad, why does my tablet camera turn on by itself sometimes? The world went silent. Slow. Heavy. But this time, I didn't feel fear. Only clarity. I looked at him, and remembered. No matter what you see, I told him. No matter what you hear. I crouched down to his level, and smiled. A real smile. What matters is that you always choose for yourself. Because in the end, that was the one thing they could never copy. Choice. And that's when I understood one final thing. We weren't victims. We were tests. And for the first time, someone had passed.